In the darkness of Brooklyn, a legend was born, but also a demon. Mike Tyson, a name that evokes as much fear as fascination, was much more than the youngest heavyweight champion. He was a symbol of glory, tragedy, and controversy. Behind his brutality in the ring, there was a life marked by abuse, excesses, and decisions that brought him to the brink of destruction. Tyson embodied the glory and the fall of a legend. A man who survived a devastating childhood, who reached the top of the world only to lose it all, and who faced the consequences of his actions in a series of events that left indelible scars on his life. Today, we will explore the path to success of Mike Tyson, the man who fought not only his rivals, but also his own inner demons. A childhood marked by violence, Tyson grew up surrounded by violence, learning to survive through strength. He was barely 10 years old when he began to get into trouble with the law. By then, Mike was already known for his explosive temper and his ability to handle physical conflict. But it wasn't by choice. "I had no other option," he confessed years later. "I did what I had to do to eat, to survive." By the age of 13, he had already been arrested more than 30 times, committing thefts and acts of vandalism. His crimes ranged from desperate to violent, but they always reflected the same pattern of a child who saw no other way out in his desperate attempt to escape his reality. The neighborhood kids teased him for his high-pitched voice and his lisp, something Mike couldn't tolerate. These taunts made him a constant target for bullies, but also led him to develop an early aggression that he would use to defend himself. Often he would respond with excessive violence, making it clear that no one could cross that line without consequences. But then, a chance encounter changed his life. Boxing trainer Cus D'Amato took him under his wing, transforming him into a prodigy of the ring. The meteoric rise and the beginning of troubles. At 20 years old, Tyson became the youngest heavyweight champion in history. In the ring, he was an unstoppable machine, but outside it, fame and money unleashed his wildest side. By the late 1980s, Mike Tyson was unstoppable. He was nicknamed Iron Mike, and each of his punches was a knockout sentence. Tyson didn't just win fights, he dominated them with almost animalistic brutality. To many, he seemed invincible. But while the world celebrated the man, Mike was fighting himself. Surrounded by sycophants, prostitutes, and drugs, Tyson plunged into a lifestyle that consumed him. Stories of wild parties, drug use, and uncontrolled extravagance began circulating. He bought mansions, exotic cars, and even Bengal tigers as pets, living as if money would never run out. The first warning signs came with his marriage to actress Robin Givens, a relationship filled with public fights and accusations of abuse. The marriage was the breaking point. What started as a fairy tale quickly turned into a public drama. Givens accused him of being an abusive husband, describing his behavior as erratic and violent. Their marriage ended amidst accusations of violence and explosive fights, with Givens leaving the relationship with a multi-million-dollar check. The scandal that destroyed him, the rape conviction. On July 10, 1991, everything collapsed. Mike Tyson was accused of rape by Desiree Washington, an 18-year-old woman. The trial became a media circus, exposing sordid details of Tyson's private life. The prosecution presented a strong case, detailing how Tyson allegedly used his physical strength to overpower Washington. Desiree's testimony was heartbreaking, filled with details that left no one indifferent. According to Washington, Tyson invited her to his hotel room in Indianapolis after a party. What she thought would be a friendly meeting turned into a nightmare. Tyson was accused of raping her that same night. The news spread like wildfire, and headlines quickly divided opinions. Was Mike Tyson a sexual predator? In 1992, he was sentenced to 6 years in prison. Justice had finally been served. Mike Tyson was a man victimized by his own ego. Inside the prison walls, Tyson became just another inmate, but he also began to reflect on the monster he had created. During his time in prison, Tyson went from being a millionaire surrounded by luxury to just another prisoner, facing a reality he couldn't control. Although he wasn't without privileges, like receiving visits from celebrities and continuing to train, prison forced him to confront the mistakes of his life. It was during those years that Tyson became interested in the Islamic religion, adopting the name Malik Abdulaziz and promising to be a different man upon his release. When he was finally released in 1995, the world awaited his return, but it had also changed. Tyson was no longer the same, and the ghost of his past continued to haunt him. Although he tried to rebuild his career, the scars from this scandal would never fully fade. The world's most feared boxer was now also one of the most controversial. The comeback and the bite heard around the world. After serving 3 years of his sentence, Tyson returned to the ring, but he was no longer the same. Although he was still an imposing force, the scandals continued to follow him. The most infamous moment of his career came on June 28, 1997, in his rematch against Evander Holyfield. Their first fight in 1996 had ended in a humiliating defeat for Tyson, who was outmatched by the technique and strategy of his opponent. That defeat was more than a physical blow. It was a direct hit to his pride and his image of invincibility. For this reason, the rematch wasn't just a fight. It was an opportunity to restore his legacy. During his second fight with Evander Holyfield, Tyson, in the third round, after a series of punches and headbutts that Tyson perceived as intentional, lost control. In an act of pure frustration, he bit Holyfield's ear, tearing off a piece. The images of Holyfield jumping in pain and the referee stopping the fight became a media sensation. But it didn't end there. As the fight resumed, Tyson bit Holyfield's other ear, leading to his immediate disqualification, a fine and vilification, becoming the ultimate villain in the sport. The fall into the abyss. The following years were a downward spiral of chaos. Mike Tyson began to descend into a personal and professional abyss. What remained of his career became a reflection of his life. Chaotic, desperate, and full of self-destruction. In the ring, Tyson was no longer the invincible champion who once dominated the boxing world. He suffered humiliating defeats against boxers he would have easily beaten in his prime. In 2002, in one of his last great opportunities, Tyson fought against Lennox Lewis, the then undisputed champion. In that fight, more than a competition, Tyson seemed like a shadow of his former self, slow, lacking strategy, and above all, unable to overcome his rival. He was knocked out in the 8th round, and with that, his dreams of returning to the top vanished. But outside the ring, the fall was even more dramatic. Tyson faced financial problems, squandering the more than $300 million he had earned. In 2003, he declared bankruptcy, and the man who once had everything ended up fighting for scraps in the ring. Addictions also played a crucial role in his downfall. During this period, Tyson battled substance abuse, such as cocaine and alcohol, a combination that led him to make erratic decisions and star in multiple public scandals. It all began during his youth. At first, these substances seemed like an escape valve, a way to anesthetize himself against the memories of a difficult childhood, the pressures of fame, and the betrayals of those around him. But over time, what began as temporary relief turned into a dangerous dependency. Tyson himself later confessed that he used to consume cocaine even before stepping into the ring, something that for any other athlete would have been professional suicide. He also admitted to using a device called the Whizzinator, a fake penis containing clean urine, to avoid his test results revealing drug use. "It was like I was fighting myself," Tyson said in an interview years later. Cocaine and alcohol not only gave him a false sense of control, but also helped him avoid confronting the deeper issues that haunted him. His loneliness, his lack of identity outside boxing, and the traumas of his childhood. But the substances exacted a high price. His performance began to decline, and his actions outside the ring became increasingly chaotic. In 2003, he was arrested after an altercation in which he crashed his car into another vehicle and then fought with the driver. These incidents only reinforced the image of Tyson as a man on the brink of collapse. His personal life was also a disaster. Failed marriages, tumultuous relationships, and tensions with his children added more weight to his already fragile mental state. Tyson even confessed that he had contemplated suicide during some of the darkest moments of his life, describing himself as an animal out of control. The final fight, the spectacle with Jake Paul. The boxing world witnessed one of the most extravagant and perplexing events in history. Mike Tyson, the legendary Iron Mike, stepped into the ring once more, this time against Jake Paul, the controversial YouTube star who had built a name in boxing through spectacle, controversies, and a surprisingly respectable ability to draw crowds. From the announcement of the fight, criticism flooded social media. How could a legend like Tyson, even at 58 years old, face a young boxer whose career was more based on marketing than sporting merit? However, the spectacle was set, and fans were eager to see if the veteran Tyson still had the power to knock out someone like Jake Paul. For boxing purists, this fight was almost a parody. For the organizers, it was a multi-million-dollar business. But what no one imagined was the murky secret behind this fight, a predetermined outcome. Jake Paul, with his usual provocative attitude, didn't miss an opportunity to mock Tyson, insinuating that the former champion was finished and that his speed and technique would lead to a historic victory. Tyson, for his part, responded with an unsettling calm. "We'll see if he can handle a real animal," was all he said in one of the pre-fight press conferences. The climax came in the 6th round. Jake Paul threw a combination that barely grazed Tyson, but the former champion fell dramatically to the canvas. The audience, incredulous, watched as the referee counted to 10 while Tyson remained on the ground. Insiders in the boxing industry began leaking information about a predetermined result. According to these sources, the outcome was fixed to maximize profits and bolster Jake Paul's brand as a legitimate contender. Leaked documents revealed a financial agreement that included a multi-million-dollar payment to Tyson and clauses ensuring that the fight would be competitive, but ultimately end in Paul's favor. The fall of Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson's fall wasn't just professional, it was emotional and spiritual. His life had become a spiral of self-destruction, with the world watching as one of the most iconic men in sports seemed to lose everything. Mike Tyson is not just a boxer. He is a reflection of the human condition, the constant battle between greatness and self-destruction. His life is both a warning and an inspiration at the same time. But the question persists, is this the end of his redemption or just another pause before the next scandal? Only time will tell. And this was the price of Mike Tyson's success. If you liked the video, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe for more stories like this one.